settings, and you can see mine is in advanced mode, and you can pause and copy these if you want. Actually, TikTok suggests an 8000 bitrate for a 1080p TikTok stream, but you can also just leave it in simple mode. And for simple mode, all you really have to do is set it to H.264 and an 8000 bitrate. Once you're happy with all your settings and once your audio has been added, press done. Now I do suggest you add an important filter to your microphone. So in the mixer in the bottom right, find your microphone and click the settings cog and find filters and edit filters, and then just click on add filters and find noise suppression, and then just make sure, like I've added here, you have an RN noise filter added. This is great for just removing background noise from computer fans and AC and things like that. So just press close once you've done that. So I've teleported to the other side of the screen because we're now going to look at how to go live. Pretty simple. You press go live in the bottom right corner, and again, if you're using dual output, you can multi-stream for free to 2 platforms. As you can see, I'm using Streamlabs Ultra, which gives me up to 8 platforms. Actually, I lied, it gives me up to 9 platforms because I can add 2 custom RTMP destinations. Anyway, we've got 7 selected here, and what I recommend you do is underneath show advanced settings, just check this on, and then of course on the left, make sure you just go through the list and check which one you want in horizontal and vertical mode. And if you want to toggle the platform off, you just obviously press the toggle to turn it off. And again, as a reminder, if you do want to try multi-streaming up to 9 platforms, you can use my affiliate link in the description to give $9 off the first month. So now you just check your settings for all the different platforms. Of course, TikTok's what we're focusing on, and if you have a stream key like me, you'll have the stream key box with the locate my stream key button. Don't forget, by the way, the TikTok stream key changes every time. If you haven't applied for access yet, you'll press this button, which will redirect you to this page to apply for access. If you've been natively granted access to Streamlabs, and this is low res, but this is the image provided by Streamlabs themselves, and this is the live monitor that will appear once you go live. So if you have the native access and not a stream key, all you'll be asked for is a type.
Their side is in the lead. Halfway there, keep it up. Our side is in the lead. have almost won.
In the Florida Republican primary, but Trump's participation in early voting offers a bit of a stark contrast to some of his previous criticism of the practice. Walking out of the polling station near his residence in Palm Beach, Florida, Trump called it a great honor to vote.
Our side have struck first.
Great honor to vote. We've done a fantastic job here, and we appreciate it. We think we're doing very well. We just had a poll that shows we're doing very well. And we have an interesting couple of months ahead of us.
However, Trump has repeatedly flip-flopped in his messaging to his voters, sometimes encouraging them to vote early or by mail, while at other times making false and misleading claims about the security of the process. Now, this rhetoric of Trump has been central to his attempt to undermine the election results if it is not in his favor. In 2020, the former president has pushed false claims about losing to Joe Biden. He'd alleged electoral fraud that resulted in the election being stolen from him in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin.
The election was rigged and stolen, and now our country is being destroyed. I ran it twice. I won twice, and did much better the second time than I did the first. Getting millions more votes in 2020 than I got in 2016, and likewise, getting more votes than any sitting president in the history of our country by far.
However, no widespread vote-by-mail fraud has ever been found despite the claims. A Washington Post analysis of data collected in 3 vote-by-mail states from 2016 to 2018 shows that instances of double voting and people voting in behalf of the deceased people is just 0.0025% of more than 14.6 million ballots cast. That amounts to 372 possible instances of fraud, which is far from what will be required to swing the election. On the other hand, the US Senator Bernie Sanders has
Our
issued
side is
a
in the
stark
lead.
warning, alleging that Donald Trump is gearing up to deny the 2024 election results by weaving some false narratives. This is what Bernie
Shifting focus for now, the U.S. Navy has decided to add a new weapon to its arsenal in the South China Sea, and this is not just any weapon. It could prove to be a game changer. The AIM-174B, an air-to-air missile with the longest range ever fielded by the U.S., could significantly reduce China's aerial superiority, a factor that has long, in a way, tipped the scales in Beijing's favor.
Our side is in the lead.
Now, for years, the Chinese military, with its growing fleet of advanced aircraft and long-range missiles, has posed a substantial challenge to the US and its allies in the region. But now, with the introduction of the AIM-174B, reports state that America has a tool that could not only level the playing field, but potentially tilt it in its favor. Let's just break this down for you. As per reports, this missile has a reach of up to 400 kilometers, far more than China's PL-15 missile that has a reach of up to 250 kilometers. The AIM-174B's range means the US planes can actually engage Chinese targets from a safer distance, effectively keeping critical assets like aircraft carriers out of harm's way, while still being able to strike at the heart of Chinese military operations. Now, until now, the US Navy has had to operate in extremely close proximity to Chinese forces, especially in the highly contested South China Sea and the First Island Sea. And this has always been a risky proposition. As per reports, the standard AIM-120 missile, with its range of just 150 kilometers, required US planes to venture
Halfway
deep
there,
into
keep it up.
contested airspace, exposing them to significant dangers. But with the AIM-174B, US aircraft can strike from much farther away, greatly reducing the risk to both the planes and the carriers they launch from. But you see, this is not just about safety, it's also about strategic advantage. In any potential conflict over Taiwan or in the South China Sea, the ability to engage from a distance changes the calculations. Chinese planes, particularly those tasked with hunting down US carriers, would now be operating in a far more dangerous environment. An expert said that the Chinese planes may have to think twice before approaching, knowing that they could be shot down long before they get within the range of their target. As per reports, this development could increase the likelihood of US involvement in any major conflict in the region. With the AIM-174B in their arsenal, the US can actually push deeper into contested areas, making it far more difficult for China to assert its dominance. This missile gives the US the ability to hold Chinese aircraft at risk from a distance, something that was not possible before. And that is going to force China to rethink its strategy. As per reports, the AIM-174B has several key advantages over its predecessors. First, like we mentioned, its range far exceeds that of the AIM-120 missile, America's previous long-range option. But beyond that, the AIM-174B does not require new production lines. It is compatible with the existing platforms, meaning that it can be deployed relatively quickly and at a lower cost than developing an entirely new missile system. Not just that, it is allegedly compatible with at least one key ally force, Australia. And speaking of Australia, this missile also strengthens America's position in its partnership with Canberra. Australia, remember, is a critical ally in the Indo-Pacific, and America is heavily investing in military infrastructure there, recognizing the strategic importance of the continent in projecting power in the South China Sea. The AIM-174B's compatibility with Australian aircraft means that the US and Australia could collaborate more closely on regional defense strategies, further bolstering the alliance and making it more difficult for China to operate freely in the region. For decades, the US maintained its aerial superiority largely through its stealth fighters, like the F-22 and the F-35. And the AIM-120 was more than sufficient to maintain that edge. But with the advent of Chinese stealth aircraft, like the J-20 and the long-range PL-15 missile, that advantage has been eroded. A Chinese J-20 could potentially detect and engage US aircraft from a distance where the US could not effectively respond, putting American pilots at serious risk. And the development of the AIM-174B is a direct response to this threat. You see, the US needed a missile that could match, if not exceed, the capabilities of the PL-15, and they might just have got it now. But the race is not over. As per reports, China is already working on missiles with even longer ranges. However, those efforts come with significant challenges, particularly in terms of targeting. The farther a missile has to travel, the more difficult it is to maintain accurate targeting data. And as it stands, the AIM-174B is not yet being produced in large numbers, but even in limited quantities, its impact is profound. The mere presence of this missile in the US Navy's arsenal may force China to reconsider its strategies and its approach to regional conflicts. The US has essentially introduced a new variable into the equation, one that makes any potential aggression in the South China Sea or against Taiwan far riskier for Beijing. In an increasingly tense region where the potential for conflict is always simmering just below the surface, this missile could very well be the difference between victory and defeat and could prove to be a game changer. And for China, that is a reality they will have to reckon with. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
I have some new tour dates I want to tell you about. We will be in Lafayette, Louisiana, Thanksgiving weekend on November 29 at the Cajun Dome, baby, down there in Poirier country. And we will also be in Beaumont, Texas on November 30 at Doggett Ford Park Arena. Get your tickets early starting Tuesday, August 13th at 10 a.m. local time with pre-sale code RATKING. General on sale begins Wednesday, August 14th at 10 a.m. local time. We will also be in Las Vegas, Nevada at the LSU USC opening weekend of football, August 30th and 31st. Bend, Oregon, Spokane, Washington, Portland, Oregon, Vancouver, BC, in the Canada, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, North Little Rock, Springfield, Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, La Crosse, Wisconsin, Green Bay, Wisconsin, and Moline, Illinois. You can get all your tickets at theovon.com/TOUR. And thank you so much for supporting live comedy and our show. Today's episode was filmed at the Venetian Soda and Cocktail Lounge in Burlington, Vermont. And we want to thank them for hosting us and allowing us in their beautiful space. And our guest, he's a United States Senator from Vermont, He's an independent, though he's been friendly with the Democratic Party over the years. He's been a congressman, a senator, a presidential candidate, and he's one of the biggest lightning rods in American politics. At the very end of the interview, we did experience some difficulties with our microphones, so we apologize for the change in sound there. We're grateful to welcome today's guest, Senator Bernie Sanders.
Shine that light on me. I'll sit and tell you my stories. Shine on me, and I will find a song I will sing it.
So do you travel the country doing these things?
Yeah, mostly I traveled doing a stand-up comedy, but about 6 years ago I started doing podcasting just in my kitchen at home. And mostly was just talking about, like, I've been in recovery for years, so mostly just talking about that kind of stuff.
Alcohol,
and
or?
Yeah, alcohol and drugs and intimacy disorders. So a lot of that kind of stuff. And then we started having guests after about 2 years, and went on Joe Rogan a few times, and that helped boost the steam, you know. And yeah, it's been surprising since then, you know.
Congratulations.
Thanks. It's made me grow up some, which is a blessing and a curse, you know. But yeah, and I just went to the Grateful Dead the other day with my brother, so pretty cool. You ever see the Grateful Dead?
No.
You remember what was the first concert you ever went to?
A name you probably wouldn't know. You ever hear of Pete Seeger?
I've heard of Bob Seger.
Yeah, I think they listen to a lot of. I was kind of into folk music, more into that.
Billy Strings, have you heard of him?
Yep.
Yeah. He's awesome. He's one of my favorites. Pete Seeger, that's him right there.
That's God. That was fast. Yeah, Pete, he's an interesting guy. He and there's another guy who died a long time ago. I don't know if you know his name. Woody Guthrie, is that name?
Woody Guthrie, I've heard of him, yeah.
Yeah, and actually his granddaughter helped me out during my campaigns. He wrote a lot during the Great Depression. So he went around the hobo camps, talked to poor people, you know.
Wow.
And he wrote songs. You ever hear the song, This Land Is Your Land? That's his song.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think somebody wrote that.
No, he was a great songwriter and a great singer.
Woody Guthrie.
Woody Guthrie.
I'm going to have to tap into some of his stuff. Yeah, my brother and I went. You have a brother? You have a brother.
I have an older brother, yeah.
Yeah. You guys ever go to a concert together?
Nope, I don't think we. He lives in Oxford, England.
Yeah, it's fancy over there.
It is. Well, yeah, but this. Yeah, have you ever been to England?
Yeah.
And they have this old university called Oxford University, which is one of the great universities in the world.
Yeah.
I stayed in a house, God, like it was 1,400 to 1,300. Who the hell knows? I mean, really.
Yeah.
It goes way, way back.
Oh, yeah. The plumb. Yeah, you got to bring your own plumbing, I'm sure.
Well, they've advanced a little bit.
Bernie Sanders, thank you so much for joining us today.
Great to be with you.
I really appreciate it. Whenever you started in politics, I'm sure that there was like a real idea of like one person can really affect change, right? Do you think that that's still possible today with like a lot of the lobbies and stuff that they have that goes on?
Well, I think, one of the points I think everybody knows is you have a government dominated by big money interests, right? That's no great secret. So you have these billionaires now in their super PACs. You're a billionaire, you can contribute hundreds of millions of dollars to elect people, to feed people. If you're a large corporation or you represent the pharmaceutical industry, you know how many lobbyists there are in Washington, D.C. representing the big drug companies? Take a wild and crazy guess.
2,000.
You got it. That's a pretty good guess. About 1,800.
Wow.
So there are 100 members of the Senate and 435 members of the House. Got it? 535. And you got 1,800 lobbyists. Well-paid, former leaders of the Democratic Party, leaders of the Republican Party. They're there to say, hey, Congress, do everything you can to make sure we make as much money as possible. And who gives a damn whether people can afford the prescription drugs they need? So that's power.
So you have a whole other drug government almost going on.
Absolutely.
That's even bigger than our own government. Numbers-wise.
Well, not big. Well, we can define what we mean by bigger. But
that's fair.
But if you look at Wall Street, the power of Wall Street, the drug companies, insurance companies, the fossil fuel industry. You have enormous wealth, enormous power. And if your question is it government that tells them what to do or they tell what the government to do? More the latter. They tell the government what to do. Very powerful.
Does it feel like that's changed over your time, like in politics, or has it always been that way?
I think to some degree, money talks, right?
Yeah.
No great secret, but it's always been the case. It's worse now, and I'll tell you why. As a result of this Citizens United Supreme Court decision, you familiar with that?
Mm-hmm.
So people brought action. Billionaires really brought action. They said, hey, it's undemocratic. You're taking away my freedom of speech, right? I got a First Amendment right. We're on TV now. You could say whatever you want to say, and I'm a billionaire, and I want to spend unlimited sums of money to defeat this candidate or support this candidate, and you have laws on the books now which restrict my freedom to buy the election. You understand what I'm saying?
100%.
Okay. And the Supreme Court said, well, guys, you're right. You're billionaires. You should be able to spend as much money as you want to buy elections. And that's what you have. So right now, this is literally the truth. You have super PACs where billionaires can put unlimited amounts of money, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, to defeat people they don't like or to support people they do like. That's power. And that is a corruption of what democracy is supposed to be. Look, you and I can disagree on an issue, right? 10 people. We argue it out, we vote, I get the majority, you get the majority, somebody wins, somebody loses. I don't think billionaires should be able to buy elections.
And I think most people think that. Most people are like, why are corporations or companies allowed to give money to candidates and influence elections, right? Almost every person I know says that should be
right.
No. Whose responsibility is it to make sure it doesn't happen? Is it ours or is it the politicians?
Well, what happened is there were laws put in place, not as strong as I would like, which did limit the power of big money.
Yeah.
Okay? And what that Supreme Court decision said is what Congress did was unconstitutional. Denied big money their freedom of speech. If you're a billionaire, you have freedom of speech. That means you can run ads all over the day and beat Bernie Sanders, beat anybody. And that's what happened. So what we have got to do now is once again pass legislation that will do that.
Are there politicians that aren't viable, kind of? Or aren't influenced by lobbyists?
Of course there are.
There are.
Yeah. And there's some very good people. But many people, look, just throw out an example. You're running for election, okay? Your opponent is spending millions of dollars. These TV ads are up there, all right? Do you think you're going to stand up to powerful special interests who say, Theo, listen, I like you, but you're going to take that position on that issue. I got to be running millions of dollars of ads against you. What do you think you're going to do if you want to get elected? You could say, well, go to hell. I'm going to do it anyhow. And many would do. Or you run the risk of, seeing that kind of money come against you.
Or you then have to find a lobbyist that has an interest of yours and you have to try and fight back.
Which is a pretty pathetic thing, right?
Right.
So to some degree, what you have right now, it's a funny kind of thing. It's, let's say you were running against me. It's not you against me. It's your moneyed interest versus my moneyed interest. That's what super PACs are.
Yeah.
Now, corporations cannot directly contribute to your campaign, but big money interests, billionaires, can contribute to a super PAC. So you have all these, what I would say to you, people watch the show here, look at the ads that are on television. They'll be underneath it. You'll see paid for by supporters of the American way of life or whatever the hell it is. Understand that in most cases, these are billionaires putting money into a candidate.
So the super PAC is kind of the loophole.
Yep.
Is how they do it. So it's not directly from them.
Exactly. There are limits. All right, you wanted to contribute to my campaign. They're pretty stringent limits. You can't contribute. I think it's $5,000. To a super PAC, you can contribute $100 million.
Wow.
That's a big issue. We don't talk about it enough. And then you can understand that if you're an ordinary person, who's going to listen to your interests, your needs, right? When billionaires are putting in this kind of money.
Right. If the best I can help you out with is $5,000, you might show up and shake my hand, but when the rickshaw hits the road or whatever, you're going to be working for the big dogs for the cash.
You got it. That's the way the system works. And
how do we change that?
Well, first of all, this campaign finance reform is a big deal. Just this one issue, and I'm glad you raised it. We got to do away with the Citizens United. We have to have restrictions. Okay. When I ran for president, the average contribution was $27. Okay, roughly speaking, and we got millions of people to contribute. So I think there has to be a real stringent limit on the amount of money that any individual can put into the political process. And I also believe that we should move to what we call public funding of elections. You're a candidate, all right? You want to run for governor, you want to run for senator. If you show that you have a certain amount of support, you got X number of thousands of people willing to put $5 into your campaign, you can be able to get public funding, and there's a limit at how much you can spend. These are not radical ideas. They exist in many countries around the world, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty normal. Do you think that our election process is still democratic? Do you think it's still...
Yes and no. I mean, you want to run for office. Can you? Yeah, you can. You got a certain number of signatures. But if you're going to win, and I have 10 times more money than you do, I will beat you 95% of the time.
Wow.
I mean, that's a fact, right?
Right, yeah, 100%.
You'll beat me. Maybe if you're really an exceptional candidate and I'm a real idiot, you will beat me once in a while. But by and large, the money people will win. So if you're asking me, are we a democracy? In one sense, we are. All right, you can run for office. You can raise your issues. On the other hand, in terms of who has the real power, money people do. And I use the term oligarchy. An oligarchy is a society where small numbers of very wealthy people control the economic and political life of the country. I think we are moving rapidly in that direction.
Yeah, I feel like to me, it feels like almost privatized communism in a way.
Right. That's a very good point. It's an interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly sometimes everything of what communism is and what socialism is, but sometimes that's how it feels.
Well, let me give you an example. Can I pick up on your point?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. I believe we are the only nation on earth, major nation, wealthy nation, that does not guarantee health care to all people. Okay? Get in your car, go 50 miles where you are sitting right now in Burlington, Vermont. You have a terrible automobile accident. You're in the hospital for a month in Canada. You know what the bill is when you come out? Zero.
Nothing.
Okay. Do you know how much the Canadians spend per person on healthcare compared to us? 1/2 as much. They spend half as much. You don't take out your wallet. If you get sick, you're the doctor that you want. Okay? I believe in that type of system. They guarantee healthcare to all of their people. Mm-hmm. It's publicly funded the way we fund police departments, fire departments, and libraries. Okay? You got to pay taxes for it. But at the end of the day, it is less expensive for your healthcare. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're a proponent for healthcare for all, right?
I absolutely.
And yes, and you always have been. And but how the system seems so rigged because you have like one of the number one causes of bankruptcy in America is medical debt, right?
Yes.
Unbelievable. Like people can't, people. They go in, they don't even know the cost. They sign an agreement that they're going to be billed later, right? It's like, and then they get the bill and it's astronomical and they spend the rest of their life literally a slave to the healthcare system or to the medical billing system or the dealing with their insurance, and not to mention they're sick. So the added stress of that, it just feels like something so much better could be done.
That is so pathetic and so sick and so cruel. I mean, we did a hearing on this, and roughly speaking, and I know the viewers will think this is like hard to believe. Half of the people who are dealing with cancer. Now, cancer is a terrible disease, right? Your point.
100%.
You're struggling for your life, right?
Bad, yeah.
Maybe
bad.
you make it, maybe you don't. You got radiation, chemotherapy, bad stuff, right? Half the people who get cancer treatment either end up in bankruptcy or utilizing all of the financial resources of the family. They're depleted. They're broke. So imagine that. You go into the hospital. Doctor says, sorry, you got cancer, terrible. You're worried to death, right? Your friends, your family are worried. And then on top of that, what are you worried about? Oh, my God. What, I'm going to have to sell my house? Or I have to go bankrupt in order to pay medical bills? That is insane.
Yeah.
And it adds, if you're trying to deal with cancer, then you got to worry about financial stress. Think it's going to make your condition any better?
No, the worst. You spend half your day, you can't even, in the insurance companies, it's all a rigmarole. It's constant stress. But how is it set up like that? Like, what is the gimmick between insurers and the hospital? That's the thing I don't know. What's going on?
All right, let's take a step further.
Okay.
Let me talk about the Canadian system. All right?
Okay.
Simple system. You pay taxes. And progressive, the more you make, the more you pay. But everyone pays taxes. All right. End result is you walk into the hospital, you sign your name, you get all the treatment. And it's good quality health care. You don't have to argue with insurance companies. You get the care that the doctors think you need. End of discussion. And in my view, that's the way it should be. We spend, it's not just that the insurance companies make huge profits. They do. Not just they pay their CEOs exorbitant salaries, which they do. Everybody's got to fill out 1,000 different forms, right? Goes crazy. Filling out forms to see what you're entitled to, what you're not entitled to, deductibles, right?
Yeah, the bureaucrecy, it's ridiculous.
Right.
Is that called bureaucracy? Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. All right, so look, you may have health insurance, but I just talked to a person the other day, we had a meeting. You know what their deductible was? $13,000. What does that mean? It means that the first $13,000 of illness they got to pay out of their own pocket. How many people can make $13,000? So if you get hit by a truck and you run up $1 million bill, yeah, the insurance companies will kick in, presumably. All right, so the whole idea that healthcare in America, unlike every other major country, all right, go to Europe, go to Canada, go to many Latin American countries. It is a bloody right, not a privilege, and that's what I think it should be. So we have a system that works very well for the insurance companies and the drug companies. In some cases, you're going to pay 10 times more for medication in America than they do in other countries. That's a whole other story we're trying to deal with right now. But it's a corrupt system benefiting the people who own it, not the ordinary American. You go out on the street, say to people, do you think healthcare is a human right? All people in America should have it? Yeah. That's going to fight.
And who are the lobbyists that are against that then?
What do you think? Guys from the insurance companies and the drug companies.
Okay, and then what politicians work with those? Like, why don't we know what politicians are cheating us so that we don't have them in anymore?
All right, you're a smart guy. You tell me, how often have you heard a discussion in this country about how broken the healthcare system is and comparing it to other countries?
A lot.
All right, you've heard a lot about this?
Well, I mean, I think I hear a lot about, I look into it a lot.
All right, you look into it, but how many people even know that we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people? So when people say, oh, Bernie Sanders is a radical idea, he thinks everybody should have health care. Really? That exists in Canada, it's in France, in England, in Denmark, in Sweden, in every bloody country on earth, virtually, rich country. So it's not a radical
Even Mars, I heard they have health care there now.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Now, some people would say that the argument against that would be that then there's less personal responsibility to take care of yourself, right? But do you
really?
But that would be in other countries anyway, right? That would be in anywhere.
If God forbid you or I came down with a serious illness, am I going to blame you for coming down with cancer? Is that a personal responsibility?
That's a good point. Yeah, probably not. That might just be kind of a ghost of an argument.
And but to pick up on that point, what should one of the priorities of a good healthcare system be? It should be to try to keep people healthy. So it should encourage people to have good diet, to do exercise, to stay away from, addictive stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Do we do a particularly good job on that? Not so much. Because where do the insurance companies make their money? Hey, if you're really sick, pretty good.
Yeah.
We keep you healthy, not so much.
Are they one of the largest lobbyist groups?
Yep.
Wow.
Very, very. They're huge. I mean, and we started this discussion, you talk about, privatized communism, whatever the expression you used, is I believe that, Medicare is the health insurance program for the elderly. Mm-hmm. Medicaid is for lower income people. I think we should combine all of these and guarantee health care to all people. But your point is that in the private sector, we are moving to a monopoly, and it's true. People like United Health, unbelievable site. United Health, to the best of my knowledge, has under contract or hires 10% of the doctors in America. Got that? One insurance company. 10% of them.
And so how would you even start to undo something like that? Like, what's a realistic path to reform, I guess?
Thanks. Great question. And because I wrote the bill, I know the answer. Okay. All right. Right now, you have Medicare, which is a very popular program. It's life-saving to many elderly people. That was developed in the 1960s by President Lyndon Johnson. Okay, very popular program. You got Medicaid for the lower-income people, also a popular program. What I would do is, over a 4-year period, take Medicare. First thing you do is expand Medicare, because Medicare does not now cover dental, hearing, or vision. A lot of people can't afford to go to a dentist. Got me?
Yeah.
Okay. You expand it. And then you say, right now, to be eligible for Medicare, you got to be 65 years of age.
Okay.
First year, lower it to 55. You're 57. Congratulations. You don't have to worry about whether you have insurance on your job. You want to hear something else crazy about the private insurance system? You work for a big corporation, okay? They give you good health insurance. He works for McDonald's, virtually nothing. All right? That's pretty crazy. Where you work determines the kind of health care you get. Anyhow, so we'll go from 65 down to 55. 55 next year down to 45. 45 to 35. Fourth year, you cover everybody. Gradual absorption. So you have a Medicare system that covers all people. You no longer have to pay any more deductibles or co-payments, no more premiums. You get your health care because you're an American citizen. Will your taxes go up? They may. Will it be less than what you pay right now in private insurance? Yes, it will be. It's a good deal.
Can we afford that as a country, you think?
Sure.
Yeah?
We are now spending over $4 trillion on healthcare. We spend double. Here's another point to be made. We spend twice as much per person on healthcare as any other country because it's designed to make money for the insurance companies and the drug companies.
Wait, so explain it to me. So we spend twice as much on healthcare
We are spending right now,
as any other country
yes,
per person.
yes.
But we're not, but the money isn't going towards them getting, so we'd almost save the money just by,
You got it. All right. Here, example.
Is that
All right?
true?
Yes, it's true. Check it out. It is true. Chairman of the Bloody Committee. Yes, it is true. All right.
bloody, literally, people are bleeding
Bloody-
out.
All right. If I buy a car tomorrow for $80,000, you buy a car for $40,000. What is the presumption? Should my car be a better car than yours?
Yes.
Okay, I'm spending twice as much, all right, but I got a really much better car than you have. All right. We are spending per person, over $13,000. All right, spending $13,000 on you, $13,000 on me, $13,000 on a 5-year-old, $13,000 on a 90-year-old. All right, $13,000 per person, over $4 trillion nationally. Canadians are spending about half of that per person.
And they're taking care of everybody.
Yes. And the British are spending less than that. Other countries a little bit less.
But does that affect us with the population number that we
No,
have?
it doesn't matter. I mean,
'Cause it's
per person.
Got it. Okay.
I'm not talking about in gross, but
Right.
per person.
How do you stop hospitals from overcharging?
That's
if,
part of it. It's a corrupt system.
if they know that the government's going to pick up the tab.
Good. Very good question. The answer is what they do. And I mean, it's not like we're inventing something. Other countries do it. What they say to hospitals is, look, you're not going to be charging Theo when he's in the hospital. You're not going to be charging him a nickel. But we know, roughly speaking, in a year what you are going to be. You need a certain number of doctors and radiologists and nurses and all that stuff. Here is your budget. It's like a police department. Here's your budget in a year. You need more, maybe we'll come up with one. You get what we call a global budget.
Like the Dodgers or something.
Right, you got a global budget.
Right, you got a budget.
And you take care of all the needs. It's not per person. You
Got
get
it.
it. And what you do there, we spend as a nation, one of the other insanities of this healthcare system, we spend hundreds of billions of dollars on billing. You know what I mean by that? All right.
Medical billing, yeah.
All right, so I'm the insurance companies. First of all, you got to fill out forms. I hire people who are not doctors or nurses, right? They just bill.
Oh, yeah.
All right, you got bill collectors. You go to a hospital, go down to the basement, got 100, depending on the size of the hospital, dozens and dozens of people. They don't want to see a patient. They're just filling out forms.
Yeah, half the Philippines is people just doing medical billing over the phone. You know?
Well, there are countries where you show your card and that's the end of the discussion. But we waste hundreds of billions of dollars just on billing people. And there's another issue I want to discuss. Life expectancy. What do we know about life expectancy?
We're getting pretty long in the tooth.
Nope.
We're not living long
Nope. Compared to whom?
compared to probably Vietnam.
I'm sure, maybe. All right, but right, we are the richest country on earth. Do we live longer lives than other people?
No, we don't.
We do not. In fact, we're pretty far down the list. Why is that?
Well, I mean, I think it could be that we're not taking as good care of ourselves.
Okay.
And I think it could be that, that we don't have as good a health care.
Right. All right. I think that's two out of three. All right. Now, here, there are two facts. Japan, other countries will live 4 or 5 years, 6 years longer than we do. That's a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they'll live, I forgot what it
Like
is.
8% or something.
Yeah, right. It's a lot. But here's another fact that is really unbelievable. It's not just that we live shorter lives despite spending so much on healthcare. The gap between the 1% and the working class is 10 years. If you're rich, you'll live as long as people in other countries. You have a long life, in the 80s or whatever it is. The working class, you're going to live 10 years younger. How does that happen?
Wow. Because just stress, burnout.
Man, all right. I'm going to sign you up there. You got it.
Look, I think I like a lot of the things that you think about.
All right, then let's deal with the issue of stress.
Okay.
Yes, you're right. It is twofold, it seems to me. Number one is if you're rich, you go to any doctor you want, when you want it, get paid for all the drugs you need, right?
Yeah.
All right, that's a real advantage. But above and beyond that, working class people live under enormous stress, right? And that takes a toll on you. Takes a toll on you physically and mentally. And that is, we have parts of this country where life expectancy is actually in decline. Got it? People are living shorter lives.
Because of the stress.
Because of the stress. And with that stress and the hopelessness, they turn to drugs, they turn to alcohol, they turn to suicide.
Yeah.
All right? Bad stuff.
Oh, yeah. I think those are things that, they don't even take those factors into consideration when they're making all of these, you call to get your medical bill. It's a nightmare. It's like, you almost want to, this is crazy. There's been times when I've been like, I would rather take my own life than sit here and make another fucking call. And I'm not even sick, I'm just somebody trying to get to the bottom of the.
All right. And why does that happen?
Because it's loopholes. They don't want you to get paid.
You got it. Not that hard. Look, you pay me money through insurance, right? So you're sick. I'm supposed to, pay your bills, right? If I drive you crazy, you're going to say, screw it. Hell with it. I'll pay the goddamn thing myself. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Good. I'm the insurance company's like, right on, man. That's exactly what I wanted.
Today, we're here to celebrate the perfect summer grooming companion that will keep you looking cool even when it's sizzling outside. I'm excited to introduce you to the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra in the new colorway White Hot from Manscaped. That's right. Step up your grooming game this summer with the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra in White Hot. Experience precision like never before with the next gen.
Humans of the Cardboard, we are officially into Supreme Darkness season. We have kicked off the official beginning of this set with the drop of the Evil Hero cards. Some pretty interesting cards there. I'm still not entirely sure where Hero lands after that, but that's not really the focus of this video. I think the really important thing to focus on with this video is everything that I think is coming in Supreme Darkness. With some of the trends we've seen in some of the past few sets, core sets specifically, I think we can draw some, early conclusions on some of what we can expect to actually end up in Supreme Darkness. Support for some recent archetypes, maybe new cards that aren't necessarily part of an archetype, but like new generic cards, and some other things as well. We'll go through the things that stand out to me when I look back on the last couple core sets on what we can definitely expect going into this new core set. So we just got the Evil Hero cards. I don't expect a ton of reveals until next month. We've got probably 2 weeks, and then they'll probably jump further into reveals. Although it is kind of early, we could see something in the next couple weeks, but I don't expect a ton. Anyway, let's jump into this thing. First and foremost, brand new archetypes. I do expect a new Dia Bellstar lore archetype. In the last archetype, we saw Azamina. We'll talk about them in a little bit, but it feels like almost every single set now we're just, classic Yu-Gi-Oh, right? They pick a new lore standard to start with, right? Whether it was World Legacy back in the day, or it was the dual terminal stuff way back. Then it was, the branded, Ecclesia, Albaz lore, and now, then Visa Starfrost, and now we walk into Dia Bellstar. Every new core set, it seems like Konami wants one new, Dia Bellstar lore archetype to drop. We've seen Goblin Bikers, Azamina in the last set. Snake Eye fits in there, right? There's obviously a handful to keep an eye on. And then White Woods, I believe, is the one from 2 sets ago. So Very cool. No idea what it's going to be, but I've liked them for the most part. The new the Dia Bellstar lore archetypes more so than I enjoyed Visa Starfrost for sure. But yeah, that's definitely something I expect. Moving on. Couple archetypes that have debuted in the archetype prior to this one. Azamina, we just talked about them. They're a cool archetype. They really mesh well with the Sinful Spoils engine that already exists. In fact, they feel quite strong as an engine. The one thing I'd like to see in this set is kind of flesh them out a little bit. Make them playable as a pure deck, like a more pure deck that does its own thing rather than just an engine, because it really feels like it doesn't stand on its own feet just yet. That would be cool. Without making the engine much stronger, make them like a more playable, well-rounded archetype with some maybe restrictions or something to make it sure it can't be splashed super generically. That'd be really cool. But good start so far. Excited to see what they get in this set. Next up, Primordial. This is a really cool archetype in my opinion. This is the most hype from Rage of the Abyss as far as new archetypes go. It is an archetype built around playing normal monsters in your deck. I know, really weird, but some really cool cards, all things considered. Like, obviously it's a downside that you have to play normals in your deck, but when you have really powerful payoff cards like Primordial Imperial as an engine card and Schiller as like an interactive card, there are some pretty good payoffs here. So I hope they follow up here. I really want to see a Primordial vanilla monster for the archetype. It makes so much sense, especially with Schiller. And maybe even another card or two to like really help round out the archetype and maybe even make something like Phantasm Spiral Primordial even better. I'd really like to see that. Really excited for this one. Really hope they follow up with a good wave. Next up, Metalmorph. This is a weird one, right? Because like this is the one that I think has the least chance of getting support, although I hope they still get it. I think this archetype is interesting, but it's very slow. It's very trap-based, and it doesn't really do anything until the next turn. But I do think there's a chance it's already splashed into like Dragon Link players have already messed around with and other maybe Dragon decks. But it's interesting. I think they have a lot of consistency. They have a lot of like get the engine online cards. I just want to see them give them a little more. Maybe raise the ceiling a little bit. Maybe raise the splash ability with a specific archetype if Konami wants to lock in on that. Maybe like that could be cool. But I would like to see something decent here follow-up wise for Metalmorph, and I think it makes sense because this wasn't really an archetype prior to this, so I wouldn't call this legacy support. Feels like this is like the debut of a full-on archetype, but we'll see what they do there. All right, now into some other legacy support, not necessarily archetypes debuting, but just other stuff. Sharks. This one I'm very excited for. I think this one is very important to note, okay? So looking back about 3 or 4 core sets ago, Konami started doing this trend where after they gave a new core set and it had a cover support, I think the oldest one I can track back to is Yubel, is the Yubel core set. The following set, they got 2 more cards in it and they were bangers, right? The Nightmare Throne and the Squirmer. And they also got Phantom of Yubel in another side set, right? Go to the next core set. You get Shining Sarcophagus. Now, their follow support wasn't as good, but again, they got 2 more cards the next core set and another card in a side set. Go to the next set. Infinite Forbidden with your Millennium cards. In Rage of the Abyss, they got 1 more card. Now, that card's decent. It's solid. It's good for the archetype. And so we've seen the full array of what they could be. Now, what we have seen is consistency in terms of those archetypes are getting the support. So I do expect Shark cards here 100%. Whether it's 1 or 2 cards, I don't know. The other thing I don't know is we've seen bad follow-up support, solid follow-up support with the Millennium cards, and banging follow-up support with the Yubel stuff. It's up to Konami to decide how good they want to make it, but I do believe there's going to be at least 1 or 2 cards in this core set for Sharks. I'm already excited for Sharks, so I'm really happy. I'm really excited to see what their next wave ends up being, and I hope they just do a good job with it. We'll see. Next up, White Forest. This is just one of those classic ones where new archetype 2 core sets ago. They got their first wave of, their next wave of support in the next core set with Rage of the Abyss with 1 more spell card. Nothing crazy, very, like, okay, not a bad card. They might mess around with this card kind of support, but not a crazy wave. And I think they might get 1 more wave here. This is not a guarantee because we've seen Konami do 1 more core set with like a small wave of support for an archetype and then leave it alone for a couple years. That's totally possible, but I do think because it's a Dia Bellstar archetype that they'll probably get at least 1 more core set of like a new card for them. Because that's, I believe, what we saw with Snake Eye, and we're definitely, I think there's a good chance we see that here. Same thing with Fiendsmith. Fiendsmith is Infinite Forbidden archetype. They get, was it 3 more? Did they get 3 more cards in Rage of the Abyss, or was it 2? I know they got a main deck monster, the Link 3, and was there a trap too? Can't remember. There might have been a trap there as well, but I can't remember off the top of my head. It's not that important. Anyway, that wave is actually interesting. I don't think it's like, it's not terrible. It's not amazing, which is probably good. That's probably the exact place they wanted to leave Fiendsmith support because of how crazy the engine seems in the TCG and the OCG so far. But I do think it's worth noting, new archetype, first wave of support, kind of okay, give and take, it's okay. There's a good chance there's 1 or 2 more Fiendsmith cards in this core set. Not guaranteed, but I think it's definitely something to keep an eye on. This one is very exciting. Deck Build Pack Crossover Breakers. So, on the timeline that these products are coming out, Crossover Breakers is coming out at the end of, well, let's get an exact date here, August 24th. So, with a week left of August, this set will be out in the OCG. Supreme Darkness will not drop until October 26th. Over 2 months of a break. I think that's enough space for them to say, all right, cool, let's do the first little drop of Crossover Breaker support in this core set. I think there's a good chance there's 1 or 2 cards for each archetype. As far as the archetypes individually go, my favorite archetype so far is Ryzael. I also have a little bit of a like to Ryzael, or not Ryzael, Jesus, Malice. Don't really care too much about the Apodracosis cards, but I do still think they have good potential. As far as Ryzael goes, I don't even know what I'd want, honestly. Like, I honestly don't even know what to give them. They could give them anything. Just give them a nice card. I don't even care what it does. Just make it a playable one, right? Malice, there's 2 big things that I'd want to see for Malice. I think the first thing is 1 or 2 more main deck monsters that still have that banishing clause. Just because it feels like they don't have enough right now. Like, you kind of want to play Allure, but you don't feel like there's enough targets yet in the deck. The Cheshire Cat that draws by banishing another Malice in hand. Again, don't feel like there's enough targets to make that card a full-on 3-of, but with 1 or 2 more main deck monsters, that could be the case. And another spell. They have a Link 3 that searches a spell in the archetype. There's only 1 spell, and if you open that spell, then searching it off the Link 3 feels pretty useless, right? So 1 more playable spell for them would be cool. That's what I'd like to see for them. And Apodracosis is such an all-over-the-place archetype. I don't even know what I want to see for them as a follow-up card. Something nice, I don't even know. Like, maybe another Pendulum to be like a Dark Dragon Pendulum to go alongside with the Light Dragon. That's like the core of the archetype. But other than that, I honestly don't have a great idea. But that's definitely something that I could easily see happening is Crossover Breaker first, follow-up wave. Definitely, for sure. And then some 2 spicy things that are worth mentioning. Mulcharmy, and some people will not be happy about this, but like, let's face it, guys, this has been 2 straight core sets with a Mulcharmy hand trap in it. Infinite Forbidden, and now Rage of the Abyss. It's only gotten better, but it's only been 2 examples, so that's not necessarily a trend all the way. A lot of people have talked about, like, do we finally get a Mulcharmy who, like, draws on when cards are banished, right? Because there's been stuff when stuff is summoned from deck and extra deck. There's been ones that summoned from hand. Do we get one from, like, Grave and Banish, right? Really punish those graveyard and banish based decks. Totally could. I could easily see that happening. I'm just noting the trend so far of, like, 2 Mulcharmies in a row and 2 core sets. Doesn't seem like they're going to be stopping anytime soon necessarily, so I would not be surprised if a 3rd Mulcharmy drops in this set. Basically same exact thing with Dominus Impulse. Dominus Purge and Infinite Forbidden, kinda okay. Dominus Impulse seems like a better version of it. Now, the only concern I would have with this one is that Dominus Purge says you can't activate, the Fire, Water, and Dark monster effects for the rest of the duel after you use it. Impulse is the other 3. So they've kind of covered all the main attributes. Does that mean there's not going to be another Dominus? Not necessarily. They could technically just keep picking random combinations of attributes and keep making, like, powerful hand traps, but, like, also restricting you from half of the monster attributes, and go from there, and keep just messing around with the different combination of attributes. But I think it's still at least worth noting that is 2 Dominus hand traps in 2 back-to-back core sets. It's absolutely on the table that we get 1 more here in Supreme Darkness. And that's basically it. There may be some other small things. I know these things get pretty intricate when you really dive around and look at all of what's going on in the Yu-Gi-Oh! News sphere. Let me know your thoughts down below. Is there anything that you think I missed on, like, just as far as like something that's like, oh, it makes so much sense if this is in here. But I think based on trends and based on what we've been seeing, I think a lot of these things make a lot of sense. So that's my thoughts here on Supreme Darkness. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts down below. What are you most excited for as far as stuff that we are definitely expecting in this core set? What do you want to see most? I would say probably Sharks. I mean, honestly, I'm already excited to play Sharks, Ryzeal, and Malice a little bit. So I'm kind of excited for all three to get another card at least here. Those are probably my big ones. But let me know yours. Let me know yours down below. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching as always. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more up-to-date Yu-Gi-Oh information like this video, and later down the line. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
まだこれからだ。本番はこれからだ。
よみがえり切れ味。それじゃあまた。よしよし。目指せ英雄。万丈ですね。またお話聞かせてくださいね。